When you see yourself, you gotta be yourself. Hello, I am Joel Walkowski coming to you on the Props Network. It's the NBA Daily Bet with the New York City street ball legend, the professional gambler himself, and that's me. We need a better title for this. How about whose betting line is it anyway? I'll be Drew buried in gambling debt. But we are having fun here, folks. I hope you like my set. I did turn down a Paul autographed basketball for it just because, I'm Team Blake Griffin. I've got a Blake Griffin signed hat from like running into him at a comedy show here in New York. He was actually amazingly nice. I just happened to be wearing a Pistons hat and like he sat with the comics when he had a 20 guy entourage. It was awesome. But I do imagine if I got that Chris Paul signed ball, the Blake Griffin hat, and that would have some Toy Story scenario after hours. And it would turn into like a Gilbert Arenas, Javaris Crittenden thing in my living room after hours. Why does your son, Paul Ball, have a gun? I don't know. Things are wild here. I think Sid looks like former Sonics bust, Robert Swift. So last night was really fun, right? We went 5-0. So what does 5-0 mean? And I'm getting a little clap back from my boss, the poor man's Carson Wentz, Sammy Kotler himself, father of the Props Network. And he's saying, well, what constitutes a pick? What means you pick one? It's like, if I send it to you in the Slack feed, Sam, that's the pick. That's the record. And I mean, you can separate props from that. You can separate the lines. But if I'm putting it in that Slack, that means I've thought about it. Usually, right in the morning when I wake up, I look at the lines while I make my morning cup of coffee, and I have my first cup. I'm sitting in the dog with my fiance and my puppy in the bed, cuddling up real nice and thinking about where our bets are. So last night we went 5-0, and we were on the Nets. And the Nets were just like, that's the type of bet you really want to win, right? Like, you can win based on like the calendar, but it's fun when there's a basketball hypothesis because the idea was, oh, Kevin Durant is actually going to really fit in well with the Kyrie Irving-less Nets. And they just went on such a run in the third quarter. They were down about 15 and they kicked up the pace and they kicked the Nuggets out of the arena. And Kevin Durant wearing this same jersey, he had his first clincher. So it's good to have him back. I am the world's only Kevin Durant fan. But before we get going into the picks for tonight, let's just wrap up yesterday. We were right about the Lakers over the Rockets. It was a really sad game, and I couldn't disagree more with James Harden on the podium there. So I don't think they've given their new coach a chance whatsoever. I'm kind of, as a basketball fan, deeply ashamed of the Rockets. So I am banning them from the talk show. No talk about Harden, no talk about the Rockets. And like, yeah, we got people in the chat saying they love KD. And like, yeah, I think that him going to the Golden State Warriors is one of the most misunderstood things in NBA history. Like, I see that as a guy who played his entire career with iso ball loving Russell Westbrook and a terrible head coach in Scott Brooks. And he just wanted to play the highest level basketball. And like, him going to the Warriors and having a 73-9 team toss him the keys, like that, I give that a lot of weight. I mean, historically speaking, like, I have KD as a top 15 guy. I'm willing to make the argument for him over Kobe Bryant, although I think people will kill me if I do that one, right? Like, people are sensitive about Kobe. I understand he was the great one. And my favorite Kobe Bryant tribute was, so Kobe passed away on a Sunday. And I had a weekly indoor game every single Sunday, 5:30 p.m. So like the day of Kobe's passing, everyone was so emotional. I drove there with the windows down playing I Love LA on repeat. And then once we got in the gym, It was the best display of chucking anyone's ever seen. People were pulling up. I was throwing up fadeaways when I'm a big ass center. So yeah, I mean, he's the great one. And I just do wish that Kevin Durant, I feel like he's lost in the shuffle where the true fans of this sport, they're missing out on him. Give this guy the credit he deserves. He's not Kyrie Irving. He's a dude who loves basketball. He's a dude who lives for this, and him in a D'Antoni offense, that's my dream. That being said, let's go to tonight's picks because Kevin Durant is heavily involved in one of them. So the Nets are playing at the Knicks tonight. The Nets are 6-point favorites on a back-to-back when their rotation is already pretty thin. So last night they only played 8 guys, and Kevin Durant, 18 months off Achilles surgery. He's playing on a back-to-back. I don't love that. He's playing on a back-to-back after playing 35 minutes and shooting 26 shots. I don't know about that. Like, this is a lot to ask. And like, yeah, it's Durant. Yeah, the Nets are a better team, but only one player in NBA history has ever successfully come back from Achilles surgery, and that was Dominique Wilkins. He led the league in scoring, which is probably his greatest achievement. It came kind of late in his career, but he was never the same after that. So the Nets, as a Nets fan, as someone who wants to see them win the title, I don't want to see Kevin Durant be given over 30 minutes tonight. And if that means having a slugfest with the Knicks in a game that, like, Knicks fans, it's going to mean a little bit too much to them. Yeah, let them have that slug fight. Another reason is that, you know, the Knicks are just physically big. And given that Mitchell Robinson, they have probably the biggest guy outside of Jokic who's initiating offense, like in the paint. Like, Julius Randle has been a kind of a revelation this year. He's probably an NBA All-Star. I've got him maybe on an All-NBA team at this point early in the season. Like, those forward spots are going to be crazy, but there is a decent argument for Randle and Sabonis for Indiana. But I think Kevin Durant is the reasonable guy to guard Julius Randle on this team. Maybe you can throw Taurean Prince on him. Maybe Jared Allen gets him some problem, but I don't really think there is the combination of, size and willingness to defend, especially at this point in the season. It is the NBA on a back-to-back after all. So yeah, I think the Knicks are going to be able to run their offense really well. I think they're rested. I think they'll be up for this game, and I think they're due to have a good shooting performance. I've been betting on them a lot this week and paying a little bit more attention to them. But yeah, plus 6 points at home. Maybe you buy it up to 7, but I think I like the Knicks here by 6 points. And we've looked for this opportunity for a long time for a basketball teaser. I'm going to tease the Knicks up to 10 points, and I'm going to tie them with the Los Angeles Clippers getting 3 points. That's actually my play here. So I'm a little tied up in football season, so I'm not taking all these straight up today. I have a couple intermingling parlays, but these are my straight up picks. And that is the case for that. Let's move on to the Bucks getting 10.5, 11-ish points against Detroit basketball. A lot of my fellow Pistons fans are rattled. A lot of my Pistons fans, they are shaking in their boots, but there's nothing to worry about. This is a masterful tank job by Troy Weaver. And, I think Jeremy Grant is actually going to play himself into a trade chip as he hits the third year of that contract and yields some picks. I think you're going to see probably a lot of Derrick Rose usage moving forward. They're going to be showcasing him. Blake Griffin has struggled to start the year. So, maybe this is a game where you look at that Blake over under. And just in this matchup, the Pistons, they are really taking a hard line with rookie Sekou Doumbouya. He is a young Frenchman, 19 years old. He really had a nice run in the Pistons rotation second half of last season before the bubble shut down. And it was very exciting for Pistons fans, especially with Killian Hayes drafted. You got the whole young French team where buy-in baguettes. The trois Pistons, they jouent au basket. Killian Hayes, point guard, Sekou Doumbia, he's small forward, but Sekou hasn't shown up for the season quite yet. And that's disappointing because, sure, maybe the guys in front of him, Jeremy Grant, who's been awesome, Josh Jackson, who's been awesome, and it's also like a great reclamation project because Josh Jackson, he was picked 4th overall by the Suns. He kind of bounced around the league, forgettable stints, but now he's back in Detroit. Detroit is maximizing him, which I love as a Pistons fan because he witnessed the malice at the Palace live. I mean, isn't that a superhero origin story? Yeah, I think it is. I will say I do need to justify why I am saying I am a Pistons fan when I'm wearing a Nets jersey. Here's the deal. I was a Nets season ticket holder for many years. They were on my way home from work. They gave me tickets. They rigged every contest for me. I like them. And given the state of Detroit sports, you know, the Lions are terrible. The Pistons are rebuilding. The Tigers are rebuilding. The NHL has rigged everything against the Detroit Red Wings. And the fact that I go to the University of Michigan and I also went to USC, which is irrelevant playing in the Pac-12, you know, I'm going to pick a couple winners. Kevin Durant playing 2 miles away. He's there. And also, people in Jacksonville, they gave me a sandwich when I did a Jacksonville Jaguars podcast there, and they showed out. So I'll be rooting for Trevor Lawrence. Okay, but back to this game. When on Monday night, I liked the Bucks against the Magic for kind of a revenge factor, and that was sort of because of, you know, Markelle Fultz is out and Drew Holiday is going to be up against Cole Anthony, who's not really an experienced starting point guard. And that bet came through. You are sharing the Detroit Pistons Twitter feed right now. That is some nice gear. Let's suit up. But in this situation with Killian Hayes out, the Pistons still aren't comfortable giving Derrick Rose starters minutes, given that he is probably their best trade chip at his contract figure. So what they're doing is they're sliding over DeLon Wright, who is GM Troy Weaver's favorite player, but he's not a point guard, and you're going to have one of the NBA's best defensive point guards on him. I do not like that for Detroit, and we know that the Bucks love to give out an ass kicking. They've played Detroit 3 times in 10 days, and just look at the numbers. The Bucks are number 1 in offense, number 6 in pace. The Pistons are 28th and 22nd, respectively. Okay, so let's talk about the Hornets hosting the Dallas Mavericks. So let me just pull up the Mavericks injury report, and you will see that Kristaps Porzingis is back. However, they are without Dorian Finney-Smith, Jalen Brunson, Maxi Kleber, Josh Richardson, and Dwight Powell against a Hornets team that is probably one of the better coach teams in the NBA. Borrega is getting the best basketball of Gordon Hayward's career after 3 major injuries. Every good thing that could possibly be ascertained from like pre-draft reports of, you know, LaMelo Ball has kind of come through on the court. And meanwhile, it's a pretty good rotation of guards. Terry Rozier, he's the best catch and shoot 3-point shooter in the NBA. This would be the 2nd year in a row that happens. So there's actually a really good offensive system being run in Charlotte. They're playing a little bit up to their level with like Hayward and Rozier and Ball doing well, but Devontae Graham still isn't shooting well. Meanwhile, yeah, Porzingis is nice, but up to this point in the season, the best decision you could make is shorting the Dallas Mavericks. They're somehow treated like a public team, and for them to be getting 4 points on the road when they're incorporating a new rotation piece and their rotation looks thin to begin with, I got to go the other way. So, yeah, Doncic is nice. He's not in shape. Tim Hardaway Jr. has been getting better and better and better. I genuinely believe he could be the 3rd best player on a basketball team, but they're going to be easing back in Porzingis. There might be a little bit of rust from him. I actually came back from the exact same surgery as Porzingis, and it just took me longer to get right than I expected. And he's also a 7'3" guy with a body that might not be meant for the riggers. And like, this isn't even about Dallas. This isn't about my anti-Dallas opinions. This is pro Charlotte. I mean, given that basically every important perimeter guy on Dallas defensively is out, I think they're going to move the ball around. I think they're going to run their crazy experimental offense that still has like pretty reliable bailouts in Hayward isolation and finding Rozier catch and shoot opportunities. So this is actually a source of contention here at the Props Network. I am taking the Charlotte Hornets to win plus 145 on the money line. And Sam's asking me, do we differentiate money line or picks? And like, no, not if the picks are over plus 145. If I'm willing to stand out and say, you know what, treat this plus 145 like a minus 110, I think that means something. And these are the two poster child.
Can I interrupt you, Mr. Pro
No,
Gambler?
no, I'm soliloquizing.
You are soliloquizing.
I'm waxing episodic over here.
I would like you to have an against the spread record. So I feel like if you're taking an underdog on the money line, you're taking two bets. You're telling the people to take the points, but you're saying you're taking the money line.
And maybe for simplicity, we can just take the points.
That's what I'm saying. We want to, I think taking the points is probably, if you feel that strongly,
yeah,
you want the people to take the points. So we have a clean against the spread record at the end of the season.
And do you agree that if I send you something in the Slack, that's the record, that's a pick?
No, I think that you need it. I think you need a separate record. You have to track units.
But the overall record, it's
an against the spread record. We want to tell the people at the end of the season that the Pro Gambler had a winning record.
Okay.
Against the spread.
Well, my against the spread record as of last night is 19-10.
Hell yeah.
We're over 56%. We had our hiccups, and maybe I'm going to take over our shared offshore account.
Stop telling the people that, but yes.
Why?
Yes,
well, I'm not telling people that the password is Dirk Nowitzki PF41 or that the username is Joel at Draymond Green eroticfanfiction.com. I haven't given out that information. The people just know the account exists.
No,
they don't.
We're gonna be betting in Nashville on BetMGM through Mr. Donnie Singstack.
They don't know that the security question is, what does Tayshaun Prince smell like in the morning? And I could say, musk and defensive effort.
All right. Well, on that note, we're betting against the spread and carry on.
Okay, we are betting against the spread, and we've got one more defensive spread, and we're using the same logic that we used in the Drew Holiday guarding Delon Wright matchup or the Drew Holiday on Cole Anthony matchup. We like the Los Angeles Clippers home against the New Orleans Pelicans. And this spread's like 6.5. Maybe you're seeing it 7 some places. Like I mentioned, I have this in a tease with the Knicks, and I have it tied with the Hornets money line to make it a little sweeter. That tied with the Hornets money line is plus 260. So I think this is significant because the Clippers' weakness so far this season has been perimeter defense. And on the other side of that, you see that Eric Bledsoe and Lonzo Ball, both of the point guards for the New Orleans Pelicans, are out. Kyra Lewis will be in the lineup, getting his first NBA start against Patrick Beverley. I don't anticipate that going well. Do you? Meanwhile, I love Brandon Ingram. I think he's shown me everything he needs to as a player. But if you're going to be running the offense through him, I'm not really going to favor his team in a matchup in which the Clippers can sick Kawhi Leonard and Paul George on him. Like, he's going to be facing like pretty tough defensive matchups the entire game. And, the Clippers, they are a little bit of a front running team. When they get a lot of attention on these national opportunities, they tend to perform well. I didn't mention Zion Williamson. I'm high on him. He is, he did what he needed for his body. And it's going to be fun to watch a Morris brother be matched up with Zion a little bit. Like, This is a game where if HBO offered the opportunity, I would pay $30 to hear the uncensored broadcast. Abso-friggin-lutely. So those are our picks for today. We like the New York Knicks against the Brooklyn Nets +6. We like the Charlotte Hornets +4, +4.5-ish against the Dallas Mavericks. And I like these picks because it's important to evaluate underdogs at this point in the season. Like when you're betting against these teams, when other squads are like jockeying for postseason later in the year, you want to have a better feel for them. So why not take some underdogs if you plan on betting the whole NBA slate? Meanwhile, we also like the Bucks -10.5, -11 against my beloved Detroit basketball. I didn't sleep with Tayshaun Prince, but I did sneak into his wedding and he let me stay. And then last one, I like the Clippers and I like the Hornets money line. All right. So if you guys are around, if you're watching now, we're going to start our other show, TP and the Walk On, momentarily. We're going to be going through a deep dive of, I've been trying to read the handles for the NFL divisional weekend, and that's going to be a great time. If you're not available for that, you can just smash subscribe on the Props Network YouTube. I mean, I think you can tell I'm a crazy person. I do